another straight English-speaking descendant of Midwestern settlers, though she remembers the righteous fury she and two friends felt standing up to a teacher who suggested women's contributions were a footnote to history. As an undergrad, Katy tacked on a teaching major to history and Spanish degrees as an employment safety net, only to fall in love with the profession. A methods instructor blew her mind when he assigned Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States and other texts that centered counter-histories. After several years teaching middle and high school history and economics, she started working in elementary social studies as a graduate student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and hasn't looked back. Unlike Katy, Noreen was mostly apathetic about social studies until her 10th grade U.S. history class, when her teacher randomly asked her, "Where are your people from?" As a Pakistani Filipina American, the isolated nature of the question, no one else was asked, and the emphasis on her ethno-racial ambiguity made clear to her that she was viewed as an outsider. For the remainder of the school year, Noreen fully disengaged from the class and opted to not take any other history classes unless they were required. She experienced what many Black, Indigenous, and people of color, BIPOC, felt and continue to feel in school: a distinct disconnect from what is presented as U.S. history, because it focuses largely on landed white men and rarely attends to BIPOC in ways that recognize them on their own terms and in their own voices. While Noreen was always fascinated by the histories of her Asian ancestors, they were never acknowledged in school. She took a couple of classes about South Asian history in college, but was focused on bilingual elementary education, Spanish, and linguistics. Late in her teaching career, she participated in the Tejano History Curriculum Project, which sought to infuse 4th grade Texas history with Tejano narratives. That collaboration with professors at the University of Texas at Austin led her to pursue a doctorate focused on social studies education. Not until her first year in that program did Noreen learn about her Asian American history. It was life-changing and life-giving for her, and she's been compelled to learn more about BIPOC histories and anti-oppressive approaches to social studies ever since. As scholars, we have produced research on diverse children's literature, the inclusion of Mexican and Asian Americans in the curriculum, disrupting Islamophobia in elementary schools, the experiences of teachers of color, the power of anti-racist local history, current and controversial events, economic and racial injustice, and anti-oppressive education in elite schools. As teacher-educators, we have over 2 decades of combined experience crafting professional development for in-service teachers and methods courses for pre-service teachers. As colleagues in the Iowa State University School of Education, we became fast friends who dreamed of laying out our vision for what elementary social studies can and should be. We are humbled and thrilled to share that in this book. To be clear, we are still growing and learning as social studies educators and know this book has limitations. For example, we admittedly are more familiar with teaching about race, ethnicity, religion, language, and class than other aspects of identity, and need to keep learning more about other dimensions of the human experience. In fact, we are striving to be less anthropocentric, human-centered, as our sense of community and obligation goes beyond human life. And given that our educational experiences have been in the United States, we don't want to presume that what we explain here would make sense in other cultural and national contexts. We also note that our love of social studies is not purely academic or professional. It is deeply personal. Since we were young, we have been concerned with and curious about the ways in which we and our loved ones have struggled with systemic oppression like sexism, ableism, racism, economic disparity, xenophobia, homophobia, and Islamophobia. As we've learned and lived more, we've engaged in deep, sometimes painful critical reflection about how we have internalized and even reproduced that oppression ourselves. As members of families with deep ideological divides, we increasingly believe in the importance of open dialogues across difference and the complexity of balancing that with clear stands against bigotry and ignorance. As mothers of young children, our responsibility to past and future generations feels even more profound, and our commitment to building a better world is fueled in large part by our love and hopes and dreams for them.